Over the last few months, three Chinese labs shipped frontier AI model DeepSeek V4, Kimi K2.6, and GLM-5.1. All of them are open source. All of them are roughly as good as Claude Opus on the benchmarks that matter. And one of them costs 1% of what Claude charges. Most SME founders choose the model based on what's popular on Twitter. That's the wrong way to think about it. These models look similar from outside, but they're built for different jobs. And using the wrong model for a task means you're either burning money or getting weaker results than you should. So over the last couple of weeks, I pulled apart all the three models to work out which model fits which task, so you get the best output at the lower cost possible. And along the way, I ran into something more disturbing. Even if you match everything perfectly, BCG published research showing 60% of companies are getting nothing out of AI anyway. Let's talk about both. I run AI Horizon Network. We help small and medium-sized businesses adopt AI instead of just buying licenses. So what I'm walking you through next is what I would tell a client who asks me which one to use. Each of these labs took a different approach. DeepSeek went after the architecture and the pricing. They shipped V4 on April 24th. The Pro version scores 80.6% on SME Bench Verified, which is standard agentic coding test. Let that sit in for a second. Moonshot went a completely different direction with Kimi K2.6. They didn't even chase the headline benchmarks. They call it a 300 agent swamp. The model can run hundreds of small agents in parallel, each one exploring a different path on the same problem, and then stitch the answers back together. This design for the kind of workflow that crawls 50 sources before writing your report. Z.ai shipped GLM 5.1 in early April. Their angle is endurance. It's MIT license, and you can run all three on your own GPUs, and zero data will leave the infrastructure. It is also built to run autonomous agent for 8 hours straight without losing the thread, which sound insane, but it's actually real engineering marvel. Three labs, completely different bets. So which matches your business? DeepSeek V4 Pro is the workhorse. The context window is 1 million token, which is the largest of the group. So if you have ever wanted to dump an entire 800-page contract into an AI and ask questions about it in one shot, this is the model that can do that. The Flash version is even more aggressive. Same family, smaller footprint, costs 28 cents per million output tokens. The entire workflow costs run at roughly 1% of the Claude. Something to think about. So where does this wins for SME? Anything where you need volume at low cost, drafting customer response, summarizing weekly reports, and generating product copy variations, internal research that pull in long documents. The stuff your team does 50 times a day. Where it doesn't win is the long-running autonomous agent that needs to make 50 sequels to calls. For that, the next one is better. If you're running a marketing agency, a content business, or a customer support team, this is your starting point. Kimi K2.6 is the agent specialist. The context is small, 256,000 tokens, and the raw coding score is 80.2% on SME Bench Verified. Basically tied with DeepSeek, give or take. But raw coding is not what makes this model special. The 300 agent swarm is designed to run hundreds of agents in parallel. Each one tried a different approach to the same problem, and then the model picks the best result. On SME Bench Pro, K2.6 beat DeepSeek and resolved the ticket that DeepSeek cannot touch. It's also a multi-model, so the version input actually works. It handles multiple languages better, and the tool uses more reliable on top of that. The catch is price, 75 cents and in and $3.50 out per million token, roughly 4 times the cost of DeepSeek blended. So you don't run this on volume work. You run it on the task where AI has to work through many steps on its own before it produces an answer. Not just respond once. Customer support agent that checks the knowledge base, refines and sends sale agents, the personalized 200 outbound emails per day, research agent that reads 50 articles and produces a summary. If you're building an agent that touch 10 or more tools in a single workflow, this is where your model 5.1 is the one, the best way. 744 billion parameters and 40 billion active open weight under MIT like any other. And you can run it on your own hardware, roughly 8 high and GPUs, SME Bench Pro at 58.4%, basically tied with Kimi, which makes it different. It comes down to two things. The first is endurance, where Kimi runs hundreds of agents in a short burst. GLM runs one agent for 8 hours straight without losing the thread. So for the long single task work, like building an entire feature from scratch or refactoring a large code base, GLM is the strongest of three. The second is the cost at scale. All three of these can be self-hosted, so the data, residency, and compliance angle isn't unique to GLM. You can keep data on your own infrastructure with any of them. What is specific to GLM is the math at the high volume above roughly 30 million tokens a month. Self-hosted GLM works out cheaper than every API options on the market. So the task GLM win is long-running, sustained high-volume work that you run on your own infrastructure. Building software, anything where the job runs for hours and you're doing it a lot of them, that is where endurance and cost curve line up. Here's a simple test. Look at one workflow in your business and count how many steps it takes from starting to finish. If it's 1 to 3 steps and you do a lot of them, go with DeepSeek V4 Flash. Run it through Open Router and you're done. If it is 10 plus steps and the work is complicated, go with Kimi K2.6. You're paying more per token, but you're saving 4 times the human hour. If you're building permanent infrastructure, your team will own forever. Or you care about data residency, self-host GLM-5.5 on roughly 8 high-end GPUs, that's the metrics marketing agency. DeepSeek operating team running multiple tools, processes, Kimi development teams building internal products, GLM. Now the part most YouTube won't tell you. The model matters way less than you think. BCG ran a study back in December. 60% of companies are getting nothing out of AI. After all that money on licenses and training and tools, they get nothing back, absolutely zero. How is that possible? BCG answered that. They found that 85% of the employees are still using AI like smarter Google search or for one-off tasks like drafting a single email. Less than 10% have integrated AI into how they work day to day. That's where real value happens, and almost nobody is there yet. Think about what this means for your business. You can pick the best model on the market. You can pick the worst one. If your team is using it as a search bar, the model didn't matter. You would have gotten the same exact. Zero returns on Claude Opus. This is what I have been saying all year. The model isn't the bottleneck, adoption is. You can pick the best model. The 3 I just walked you through. Honestly, the worst one. And it doesn't matter. If your team doesn't have a workflow, someone owning it, and a real plan to embed it in the next 30 days, you're just going to burn another quarter and end up sitting right where that 60% are. Pick the right one for what you're doing and then put in the actual work to make it stick. That's the part that matters the most. Number 4, test all 3 of your actual workflow instead of testing benchmark numbers. Get an Open Operator API key, run 10 real cases through each one and watch what comes back. Second, pick that fits your specific use cases. Third, run the 30-day adoption framework around it I wrote the full playbook at aihorizon.network, aihorizonnetwork.com/blog. Link is in the description. Number 4, don't switch model for 90 days. Switching mid rollout is the fastest way to lose your team's confidence. Pick one, commit measures, and revisit after 90 days. That's the bigger question underneath all of this. If Chinese labs can ship a frontier AI model at 1% the cost of what's the entire Western AI industry over the next 2 years, is OpenAI still worth $500 billion than V4 Flash exist? When V4 Flash exists, what happened when the Saudis and UAE labs join, given they survived the conflict? The cheap frontier race, we don't know yet, but it is going to matter for every SME that makes a software decision this year. Next week, I'm breaking down the BCG study in detail, 5 employee persona, the 5 stage of adoption, and what SME can actually move their team past stage 3, where almost everybody's stuck right now. If you found this useful, like and subscribe. And if you're an SME founder and you want help running an adoption inside your business, the site and the email are in the description. So see you next time. Ciao.